I am the Namer, guardian of the names of power. Before your world even existed, my people were an ancient race. Now they are gone, and only I remain, keeper of my people's history. Across the endless tracts of space have I traveled, to return to the planet of my birth, Zoidstar. Though my people perished long ago, and their cities were buried by the shifting sands, the machines remain. It is these that have brought me here to perform the last act of the Zoidarian race, the giving of the names of power. When my race was young and had an interest in the affairs of the galaxy, they built the machines, mighty engines of destruction which gave the power of life and death over the other creatures in the galaxy. The Zoidarians turned their gaze outward and laid waste to 1,000 star systems with their machines, their Zoids. But ruling a galaxy was not enough for the Zoidarians. It was not the conquests, but the battles they enjoyed. And though all intelligent life trembled in the shadow of the Zoids, my people battled on, machine against machine, Zoidarian against Zoidarian, in the further pursuit of glory. Zoidarian lives were needlessly sacrificed to the god of battle, and the race dwindled in numbers until the elders outlawed the Zoid duels. But they couldn't outlaw the Zoidarian love of combat. The Zoidarian pilots of the giant war machines were replaced by androids, and thus the heroic combat could continue without threat to Zoidarian life. Too late came the order. Too late to save a once mighty race from extinction, and now only I remain. Only I and the Zoids. And though my people created the Zoids, I have no power to control them. For the war machines have become the living embodiment of the Zoidarian thirst for combat, with lives and wills of their own. They exist only to fight, to ensure that their heroic combat lasts for all eternity. Now I stand on the sand-blasted surface of a world I used to call home, high on a rock, scanning the horizon for some sign of movement, knowing that out there, behind the sand clouds, lurk the deadliest war machines in the universe. Ah! It begins!
Build like fast and agile for the escape. War machine on 8 legs with lightning speed. Red Gurantula, so the boldest breed. Master beam cannons lay down heavy fire. Microwave shot pierces foes and they expire. Expert scout steel, espionage machine. Red Gurantula comes and goes unseen. Red Gurantula, Republic fighter. Red Gurantula, silver box spinner. Red Gurantula, steering fighter. Red Gurantula, crimson steel slider. Red Gurantula, Republic fighter. Red Gurantula, silver box spinner. Red Gurantula, steering fighter. Red Gurantula, crimson steel slider. Dark Zoids invade to claim Republic lands. Dark Zoidians with greedy eyes and hands. Red Gurantula finds their secrets all. Planet sea spider stealth will make them fall. Dark army crushed, but new foes now come. Sanababa, Senpai beat the battle drum. Red Gurantula swords again to the fray. Your skullduggery will yet save the day. Red Gurantula, Republic fighter. Red Gurantula,
of destiny are strange indeed. Though it seems as though the Zoids must battle among themselves for all eternity, fate provides them with an escape in the shape of their deadliest foes, the Red Zoids. I remember how I, the Namer, last of the Zoidarians, stood witness over the birth of the Red Zoids. I was returning to Zoidstar. The Zoids under my command were in need of repairs and fuel. We never completed our journey. Our ship made a forced landing on Zoidstar's Blue Moon. I nearly perished in the crash. The Blue Moon was a world vastly different to Zoidstar. Cold, airless, uninhabited. To survive, the Zoids changed. Where the first Zoids were cold creatures of metal, the Zoids of the Blue Moon became adapted to their new environment. Their bodies now generated heat. Their blue shells became red, and these Zoids did not battle among themselves, but cast around in search of others to turn into creatures like themselves. Thus they became Red Zoids, terrible metal monsters whose only driving force was the defeat of the Blue Zoids and the destruction of all life in the galaxy.
Red Zoid mutation takes Zoidstar life forms, twisted by cruel science to bring war storms. Spider Zoids corrupted with heat and hate foul. Tarantulon seed with hatred cyber scowl. Enslaved by Red Horn to do his foul bidding. Former Blue Zoid eyes fit for ridding. On Master Red Zoid, spiders of steel hate. Tarantulons succumb to war conquest fate. Tarantulons, red and silver machines. Tarantulons, spider droid laser beams. Tarantulons, yield blues like techno screens. Tarantulons, seek such the conquest dreams. Tarantulons, red and silver machines. Tarantulons, spider droid laser beams. Tarantulons, yield blues like techno screens. Tarantulons, seek such the conquest dreams. Rabbit Zoidstar night wakes to beam gunfire. Red Zoids attack Blue Zoids with techno wire. Mechanized monster machines to the end. Tarantulons of Red Horn seem to rend. Red mutant scourge spreads across Zoidstar plains. Envoys of Red Horn's war fall like steel rains. Tarantulons webs of metal silk snare. Foolish Blue Zoids of Zoidstar who dare. Tarantulons, red and silver machines. Tarantulons, spider droid laser beams. Tarantulons, yield Blue Zoids techno screens. Tarantulons, seek such the conquest dreams. Under Zoidstar's cold sun, Red Zoids battle Blue Zoids till day is done. Tarantulons do not retreat or run. Spider monster machines by a laser gun. Tarantulons, red and silver machines. Tarantulons, spider droid laser beams. Tarantulons, yield Blue Zoids techno screens. Tarantulons, seek such the conquest dreams. Tarantulons, red and silver machines. Tarantulons, spider droid laser beams. Tarantulons, yield Blue Zoids techno screens. Tarantulons, seek such the conquest dreams.
It is the never-ending battle between Red and Blue Zoids. It has been waged for centuries. It rages still, with no end in sight.
The Namer, last of the Zoidarians, guardian of the names of power, keeper of the legend of heroic combat, have spoken.